Jay here, Stretford, Paddock. This is the Paper Talk. You know what to do by now. We're live. We're in the studio. So get involved in the chat and the comments. We're going to be talking about Alejandro Garnacho, the boy wonder. He was on fire last night. An absolutely sensational performance from him, coming on as a substitute and running Aston Villa ragged. So there's a few quotes there. It looks like the future's a pretty bright one for him. Not so bright, perhaps, for the likes of Donny van der Beek, who didn't have the greatest of games last night. And also Jadon Sancho. It looks like Jadon Sancho's going through a bit of a sticky patch in a minute. So we'll get into all that. A few people commenting on it. There's a couple of stories there as well. So we'll get into those. Also, we'll have a little look at Leon Bailey. A bit of hypocrisy, hey, Leon. Yeah, I think you guys know what I'm on about on the socials. Yeah, if you don't, we'll go on to that as well. So make sure you are getting involved in the chat and the comments. We want to hear from you guys. Make sure as well you're hitting that like button. Smash the likes, as the kids say. We'll get straight into it as well. Tim Collins said, I'm so excited about our journey going forward. Many twists and turns. Yep. Definitely. Many twists and turns last night in particular. But it was a pretty good performance on the whole. I know the first half was drab, but I felt like the second half was just, felt like it was just sensational, wasn't it? It was just a really good second half performance by Manchester United. Yes, it wasn't perfect, and we obviously conceded a couple of goals, and there was a couple of mistakes there. But on the whole, what a performance. You look at Garnacho, you look at Marcus Rashford. Great to see Andy Martial getting on the score sheet as well. A real felt like a real cup tie. The atmosphere was great. Getting through to that next round as well, where we have got Burnley. So we'll get into that a little bit more. But let us know what you guys think. Let us know what you thought about the performance last night. Let us know what you think about Alejandro Garnacho. Let us know what you think as well about Donny van der Beek, because he's been getting a little bit stiff. I'll go into the Donny van der Beek stuff. We'll get into that first, and then we'll move on to the likes of Garnacho, and I'll mention Jadon Sancho as well. Yeah, with Donny, he's been playing quite a lot lately by his own standards. I think it's like his third start or something in a row, which is quite rare for him. He doesn't usually get many starts at Manchester United. I think he's played about 50 games or whatever it is for United since he arrived, but very few of those have been starts. And the sort of argument that's always made with Donny van der Beek is a case of, you know, he hasn't been given the opportunity to really show what he's about. I think it's 57 games he's played for us in total. I'm not sure if that's counting last night, to be fair, so it might be 58. So this argument that you have with Donny is that, or not with him, but about Donny, is that he's never been given a consistent run to show us what he's about. And it's a bit of a shame that when he went on loan to Everton last season, he looked like he had a pretty good start there. I spoke to an Evertonian from the Blue Room podcast, and they were saying, yeah, you know what, he's been a really good signing, a really good loan signing. And then he got injured. So he played 7 out of a possible 16 games, I think, or 15 games for Everton. So he obviously missed half the games he could have played. So it didn't really, again, it didn't show us anything. Then whenever Erik ten Hag comes in, you think, well, this is tailor-made for Donny van der Beek. This is the manager who, under that manager, he got to the Champions League semi-final. He won the Dutch League. He was nominated for the Ballon d'Or. He absolutely shone under Erik ten Hag. So you think Erik ten Hag coming into Manchester United should be a positive thing for Donny van der Beek. And in some ways it has been, because let's face facts, he's had more starts under Erik ten Hag than he's had under the previous manager, or previous managers, I should say. But he hasn't really taken those opportunities. And it still feels like, I feel like I repeat myself constantly when I say with Donny van der Beek that the jury is out. And now it doesn't even feel like the jury's out. Now it feels like, for a lot of people, the jury's actually in, and he's just not quite the player we were hoping he would be. There's a story here in the Mirror. This was late last night in the Mirror, and it says Donny van der Beek told to leave Man United as Erik ten Hag reminded about warning from coaches. And it goes on to say, this is by Jake Polden. It says Donny van der Beek's latest chance to prove he can succeed at Manchester United may just be his final after yet another poor display against Aston Villa in the Carabao Cup. Now, the story goes on to quote Patrice Evra. And it says, Evra, I think, was talking to Betfair. I think he was saying to them, when we bought Donny van der Beek, I was the first one that asked why we had bought another midfielder when we didn't need one. Well, I thought we did need a midfielder. I just don't think he was the right midfielder, personally. We needed a defender at the time. Everyone jumped on at me saying, I hate Van der Beek. I have nothing against him. I saw him after the Tottenham game with his family, and I love him. Very nice. I remember early on when he first signed, I heard people comparing him to Paul Pogba. Come on, guys, let's be honest. He'd only just come to the Premier League. My advice to him is he needs to go somewhere where he feels loved. The problem in England, not just Manchester, is that people don't respect him. He's a very good player. I kind of half agree with some of that. From Patrice Evra. I don't actually think that Donny van der Beek has been hard done by in terms of people not appreciating him, people not loving him or whatever. I think the fan base has been pretty kind to Donny van der Beek. I think when you look at it, not just online, which is, one thing, but also in the stadium, he gets his name chanted a lot. So I don't know where the idea that he's not been appreciated comes from. Maybe you could say certain managers, maybe Ole Gunnar Solskjaer didn't fully embrace him in terms of giving him game time or whatever. But I think for Manchester United fans, I think Donny van der Beek is quite a popular player for someone who's played so few games for Manchester United and also played so few games where he's shone for Manchester United. I think the fan base is pretty much behind him. But let's have a look what you guys think, you important ones. Jonathan Rahman says there's no way Sancho is going. He needs to adjust to new tactics. We'll get into that in a minute. Abhinav Verma says the way Leon Bailey retaliated on Lisandro Martinez yesterday, I think Martinez didn't punch him hard enough. Mark Edmond also says Leon Bailey was a red card. We'll get into that as well. Gareth Blade saying Leon Bailey's a rat. So everything, everyone's sort of on Leon Bailey's case. Diemston Strangler says, Jay, the man, the myth, the legend. Good morning, have a top day. Donny can go. We need better quality players than him. We need another striker and another centre-back and right-back. Any cash we can get, we should. He's simply just not made the step up to Premier League. Should we do a poll? Can we do a poll, Cal? On Donny van der Beek. Does Donny van der Beek have a future Manchester United? We'll do a poll because I want you guys to get involved. Hit that like button as well. Let us know what you think about Donny van der Beek because he seems to be, I said earlier, he's this player that he's got a lot of support within the Manchester United fan base, both in the ground and online. People tend to like Donny van der Beek. They tend to get behind him and tend to support him, despite the fact he hasn't really done a lot in a Manchester United shirt. He's had some moments. His debut, I think he scored against Crystal Palace. He scored in Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's last game. The poll just gone up, and if you go in our chat, says, does Van der Beek have a future United? But I feel like with each game that he plays, he's sort of the support and the love for him, if you can use that word, is getting less and less amongst the United fan base. He just doesn't seem to be doing enough so people go, yeah, that's our guy. Was it the Sheriff game, I think, where he started that, he got subbed. I think did he get subbed at Villa Park? I think he did. He just seems to, when he does play, get subbed quite a lot. He got subbed last night. Doesn't really seem to do a lot. And there's also this issue around his contribution. Now, if we can just get some stats up here. And I don't want to turn this into a Donny van der Beek hate thing, because it isn't. Do you know what I mean? I do like Donny van der Beek, but I just think we have to be realistic about his limits and what he's done in the Manchester United shirt. Now, these are some stats from last night's game. Goalkeeper Martin Dubravka completed more passes than Donny van der Beek in the first half of the Carabao Cup tie between Manchester United and Aston Villa. I think Dubravka had 8 touches, Donny van der Beek 7. And in total, I think he had... in the league game at Villa Park, he had 18 touches of the ball, 1 shot, 13 successful passes and no tackles in a 65-minute long performance. So those are 2 games he's played against Aston Villa. And Aston Villa are a decent team, but they're not amazing. Do you know what I mean? This isn't Real Madrid or City or whatever. And we had a lot of the ball last night. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't like we were dominated and they had all the possession. We saw a lot of the ball. And if you're in a midfield for a Manchester United team that's having quite a lot of the ball, to only have 7 touches, that seems really low, that, doesn't it? Very low. I mean, that's almost the definition of anonymous. So, yeah, you need to do more than that for me. Like, certain players can have an off day and you can go, okay, we've seen enough of them. We know what they're about. Like, Fred didn't play particularly well last night, but I think we know now what Fred's about. We know his limitations, we know what he's good at, and we know when and how you can use Fred. Now, I'm not saying Fred's the answer to all our problems, but there's a role for him, I think, in the squad at Manchester United, and I think we've seen some good games from Fred, especially under Ralph Rangnick. He was one of the few bright sparks. We've also seen some pretty bad ones, and I think there's a sort of the general consensus from what I gather is Fred does a certain job. There's games you can use him. You wouldn't build your midfield around him, or you wouldn't rely on him. And I think the signing of Casemiro and Christian Eriksen means that Fred now is going to be a squad player, and that's probably the best thing for him. With Donny van der Beek, though, I don't think he can afford to have anonymous games. I don't think he can afford, especially in both the league and a couple in successive games, to be pretty quiet, because I think there's more attention on him and there's more question marks around him than there is the likes of Scott McTominay and Fred, who are 2 players who have been criticised in the past by Manchester United fans, don't forget. But we have seen good things from them, and we've seen enough from them where you go, okay, we know what type of player they are, we know what they bring to the Manchester United team, we can, we can get something out of them. with Donny van de Beek at the minute, I just feel like it's a bit like, you know what, we're not really getting much out of him. We're not, you know, it's just a bit sort of, you know, I don't know, almost nothingness at the minute. In terms of our poll that we did 3 minutes ago, so far, does Donny van de Beek have a future at Manchester United? Yes, 19%, no, 81%. So there's a lot of people there already who just say no. People getting into this now saying, Ryan Bates, Fred's decision making on the ball is awful. His passing crossing was terrible last night. I thought Fred had a poor game. I'm not saying Fred is great. He wasn't. But my point is he has had more good games in a United shirt, I feel, than Donny van de Beek has. And he's also, I feel like you know what you're getting with Fred. And I feel like there's still a role for him at Manchester United. I don't know if there is for Donny van de Beek. Average Joe says, Fred too inconsistent. Thomas Clark says, the game is too quick in England for Van de Beek. It makes more sense to use him as a decoy and pass more directly to someone further up who's in a dangerous position. Although Van de Beek makes runs, that's it. I mean, yeah, all right, he can make runs and stuff, but that's, I mean, I know you're not defending him there or justifying that, but that's not enough, is it? You don't want someone who's just making runs to create space. That's a good attribute to have, but you need to do more on the ball. Or, you know, you're not tackling, you're not passing, you're not getting the ball. What are you doing? What are you doing? You do nothing. You guys talking about Bailly or Bailey. We're talking about Bailey in a minute. Donny not what he was at Ajax. Yeah, he's not really, is he? And it's a shame. Listen, I hope that Donny van de Beek turns it around. I really do. I want all Manchester United players to be successful, and I want Donny van de Beek to be successful, and I hope that he comes back into the team, or if he does get another chance, that he proves a few of the doubters wrong, including myself. I'm just not seeing it. I've got to be honest. I'm just not seeing it. And I think that the one sort of defence that he's had, or his critics could have, he's had in front face critics, is he hasn't played any games. But now we've seen him playing more games. I think we've seen him play 3 games recently, and he's not done anything in any of them. I think I'm right. I think he's been subbed in all of them as well. So I just feel like, you know, it's not great, is it? We need to see a bit more from Donny van de Beek, and I feel like time is running out. Yeah, played against Sociedad. Sorry, not Sheriff. Played against Sociedad, and he was subbed after 58 minutes. He played last night obviously in the Carabao Cup, subbed after 62 minutes. He played at Villa Park, and he was subbed, I think, after 65 minutes. 65 minutes. So there's 3 games in succession. He's not got to the 70th minute in any of them. He's not got to the 66th minute. There's something going on there, isn't there? Do you know what I mean? He's not alone, though, as well. There's another player who has been subbed quite a lot this season and has been questioned, and that's Jadon Sancho, who's also on that thumbnail you can see there. Jadon Sancho is a player who, you know, I like Jadon Sancho. It was exciting when he came, but there's a couple of reports in it, and I'll get to them in a minute. Again, questioning his future at United, which seems a bit crazy, doesn't it, to sort of question his future at United when... It wasn't that long ago he was scoring against Liverpool, he was scoring against Leicester, scored in the Europa League. You know, a lot of... sorry, that's my volume there. A lot of people sort of, you know, saying, oh, he's turned a corner and all that. But just looking at some of his stats, I know he's not well at the moment. I think he's got an illness. He's been subbed quite a lot this season. He's subbed in his second game against Brentford, subbed against Liverpool, subbed against Southampton, subbed against Leicester, subbed against Arsenal, didn't play against Palace and Leeds, subbed against City, played the 90 against Newcastle, subbed late on against Spurs, I think, and then subbed against Chelsea after 52. And the one against Chelsea was pretty bad, wasn't it? Because he was having one, wasn't he? He really was. I felt a bit sorry for him, to be honest with you, because it was one of those where in that beginning of that second half and the end of the first half, everything went wrong for him. You know, he just kept giving the ball away. There's a piece here in The Athletic by Daniel Taylor. Now, Daniel Taylor's not a sensationalist journalist. He's not a clickbait merchant. He's one of the best journalists out there. We've had him on the channel. I love Daniel Taylor. I love his work. And I think it was a real coup when The Athletic got him. That's when people started to sit up and take notice of him. He's done a piece in The Athletic about, you know, Jadon Sancho has become 73 million afterthought for England. How did this happen? And he says the saddest thing, perhaps, is that no one seems surprised by Jadon Sancho's absence from England's World Cup. Yeah, so he's talking about, obviously, the World Cup and how he's not going and how he's become, like, you know, he's England's forgotten man. And this is a player, he goes on to say there, who scored 50 goals and set up 64 others in 137 games for Borussia Dortmund. So he was flying, and he goes on to say here as well that at one stage, Sancho featured more prominently in Southgate's thoughts than Phil Foden. Then Sancho moved to Old Trafford, and overall, what would be a reasonable assessment of his performances? 6 out of 10, perhaps. Seldom any higher, but occasionally lower. And he's got his goal scoring record in the last 5 seasons. 13 4 years ago, or was that 5 years ago? Sorry. 20 4 seasons ago. 16 3 seasons ago. 5 last season. 3 this season. I know it's only early doors this season. And again, Daniel Taylor's. It's a really good article. If you subscribe to the Athletic, if you get a chance to have a look at it, I'd have a look. And it goes on to say, this is the sort of crux, and this is the important bit. The difficult part is to understand the reason for it, what has held him back, why is his career in Manchester flickered only sporadically. Behind the scenes at Old Trafford, it has been a regular point of discussion. One theory is that the team is not always set up to get the best out of Sancho, whose strength is to get past opponent, often in confined spaces. On that basis, there is a measure of sympathy that he no longer sees as much of the ball as he did at his previous club. There have been injuries and illnesses, and towards the end of Rangnick's tenure, one occasion when the management was surprised that Sancho had made himself unavailable. Then, of course, there's Cristiano Ronaldo factor. He goes on to talk about that. But that feels like a bit of a cop-out. He goes on to say, he also talks about Sancho tends to be a reluctant interviewee, but it's just not been happening for him, and he's pulled on an England shirt only once in 16 months since his last appearance at Wembley. Ended in that defeat to Italy. So it looks at the England side of things and also the Manchester United side of things there. And it's the United side of things that I sort of, concern me. And I was, excited when we finally got Jadon Sancho. It'd been a long-term target. The 73 million quid is quite a lot, but I think we were staggered on it over 4 or 5 seasons, so it wasn't like it took everything out of our budget. And there was a real sort of sense of optimism. We'd signed Sancho, we got Varane, we went and got Cristiano Ronaldo, and everyone was like, this is a transfer window that could sort of move us into doing bits. And then it was a disastrous season last season. Terrible on all fronts. Ollie gets sacked. Ralph Rangnick comes in and is arguably our worst ever manager. Certainly stats-wise, I think he is in the Premier League era. And then, Sancho just doesn't really do anything. He has a couple of good games, but not many. Josie Spiteri in the Super Chat says, I love Donny, but I'd swap him for Timber and Jan. Timber can play right back as well as centre-back, played Martinez. We wouldn't believe in Ajax in the lurch. If we could get that deal, that would make a little bit of sense. I don't know if it will. Glenn F says, Jay, the thing with Van der Beek is that we simply can't afford to give him a run of games because we don't play well when he's playing. I would much rather see Sancho play than Van der Beek. Maybe do a poll on that. We'll maybe do a poll on that later. I think Jadon needs to be, Abhinav Verma. I think Jadon needs to take care of his health. This season, I feel he's been lacking confidence. The team has actually played to his strengths. We had more possession against Newcastle, Spurs and Chelsea. Sam J says, morning, Jay. Nice to meet you. Briefly crossing the road last night. You shook my hand and everything. What a gent. Yes, I remember our little chat there. Good stuff. Everyone was buzzing off last night as well. It was good stuff last night. Good performance by the team, but just, Donny van der Beek just didn't really happen for him. Also, on the Jadon Sancho front, it's just getting to the point where you start looking at it, you start worrying a little bit, don't you? You start thinking, is this like Daniel Taylor's alluded to? There's these discussions at Old Trafford, and I want to get to this now about Sancho and also Garnacho. Garnacho looks like someone who could come in and do a job on that left-hand side. You've got Antony on that right-hand side. You've got Martial or Rashford down the middle. Where does that leave Jadon Sancho? Or Ronaldo, obviously, down the middle. Where does that leave Jadon Sancho? You'd probably argue, if everyone's fit, if Sancho's fit, Garnacho's fit, I think at the minute, Sancho probably gets in ahead of him. But if everyone is fit, I'd also argue that Martial goes down the middle and Rashford gets in ahead of Sancho. So I on that left-hand side, and Antony on the right is a no-brainer. You paid 100 million euros for him. He's a player that Erik ten Hag wanted and knows from Ajax. He's starting if he's fit. So if everyone's fit, I still don't think Jadon Sancho gets in his team. I think the front three is probably Martial, Rashford, and Antony. And then if you're swapping it around a bit, maybe Sancho comes in. But he's got Garnacho breathing down his neck. And this is the worry if I was Jadon Sancho, because Garnacho, he's just been smashing it. He's been getting a little praise last night, as you'd expect. Erik ten Hag was speaking after the game. He said it was good that he came on and showed that performance and had that impact in the game to assist, to be able to assist, make the dribbles and run behind. And also, can we just clarify something? There's assists and there's assists. That assist for Scott McTominay was outstanding. And Garnacho is such a crowd pleaser. He gets you off your seat. He gets everyone buzzing. He got everyone going. You can see the picture of him there when he was doing all this when the Argentina chants were ringing out. I mean, he is just such an exciting player. And he's a Manchester United type of player. Those are the players you like. Players that run at defenders. Players that aren't afraid to take chances. And I don't mind if it doesn't come off for him a few times, but he's trying it. And when you juxtapose that with Jadon Sancho, who seems to have lost his confidence, I feel for Sancho, I really do. But you have to look at what's better for the team. And even though I think Sancho's probably ahead of him in the pecking order, it's not that. I don't think it's that far off that Garnacho could leapfrog him, especially when you see performances last night like that. Erik ten Hag also went on to say he still has to learn, but quite obviously we are happy with his development and he can contribute to the team. It depends on his approach, his attitude. This is the thing that's come up with Garnacho. I think he missed a couple of meetings, or he's late for team meetings, one on pre-season. And it's been brought up a few times. I think Chris Wheeler had it in the Daily Mail. Bruno alluded to it, that he has to have the right attitude. And I think with Erik ten Hag, he's got the right manager to get the best out of him. Because Erik ten Hag won't take any messing, but he can put an arm around players when they need to be. He's not Jose Mourinho, everything, I'm going to go mad and destroy you if you don't do what I say. And he's not an Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, who could be at times, even though I loved Ole, a little bit too friendly and kind towards certain players. I think with Erik ten Hag, you've got a good balance, and I think he'll know how to get the best out of Garnacho, and he's already doing that. Didn't play him early on the season, whether that was just, he was finding his feet himself, Erik ten Hag, and also the thing with him being late a little bit for a couple of meetings. But now he's beginning to bring him in. I think we have to nurture this kid properly because he could be a phenomenal talent. We've been here before a little bit, haven't we, with United youngsters? I've been here going back to the bloody Terry Cook, Kiko Makeda days. I've said it so many times, like, Januzaj looks like the future, and it doesn't happen. But we can see the kid's got talent. We've just got to use him in the right way. Don't overuse him and don't underuse him. Anthony Elanga, for example, got overused last season. Just used too often. Constantly getting thrown in. His confidence was patchy, to say the least. And I think he's been about 20 games without a goal for Manchester United or something like that, which isn't great. Or he went, about 20 games without a goal. I don't know. I don't know what he's on now, but he went a long spell without a goal. Garnacho looks like someone who's thriving. We need to make sure we allow him to do that. So, yeah, positive impact from him last night. He's having a good season so far, and he looks like he's got a bright future. Maybe not so much for Jadon Sancho and Donny van der Beek. I think Jadon Sancho, there's still obviously loads of time left, and I'm not saying he's gone in January or anything like that, but I do think we need to see a bit more of him, especially when you've got these other players ahead of you in the pecking order. As for Donny van der Beek, I don't know, it feels almost like the end game now. I think the one thing I said earlier that he's had in his defence is he hasn't played, but he has been playing and he hasn't been doing much. Should we talk about Leon Bailey? Because this is what Leon Bailey tweeted after the Villa game, right? And I think he needs to remember that snitches get stitches. Very disappointed in the referees today. I couldn't breathe for a second, or couldn't breath for a second, after getting elbowed twice in my rib. What even is that? I couldn't breathe for a second. What's that mean? That's not even a thing, is it? I can't breathe for a second. Oh, no, I can. I can't. Oh, yeah, I can. I can breathe. That's not a thing. Not breathing for a second. So you can sort your head out there. After getting elbowed twice in my rib, the linesman went on to say, I shouldn't be saying anything because I was doing just the same thing to Martinez. Sometimes I don't understand why we got VAR. Shake my head. Well, say something, Mr. Bailey. You're lucky we didn't have VAR last night. Have we got a picture of what he did last night? Can we get one? Alexa, can you send Callum a picture of... can you hear me? A picture of Leon Bailey stamping on Martinez. Because, listen, I'm not into all this, grassing and tweeting about refs and look at what he did and clipping up misdemeanors. But I think if you're going to start throwing shade at people and start grassing and saying that you've been outdone by, then, you can't be a hypocrite around it. And you need to be called out when you do something similar. Because, listen, I was a bit surprised Leon Bailey did that because they won the game. I think you've won it. Yes, there was a bit of argy-bargy with him and Martinez, but I don't think it was anything that amazing. Nothing that sinister. Maybe you could say he had a little bit of a nudge, Martinez, but it wasn't that bad. But then Leon Bailey last night, let me know when you've got that pit, bro. He was pretty bad. Glenn F saying, great show this today, Jay, covering all the hot topics. Garnacho should be brought through slowly. Thanks for that, Glenn F. Always appreciate your support as well. Squeaky Weasel just on the Sancho thing. Sorry to go, not Sancho, on the, the Sancho thing. Sorry to go backwards, but we'll get back to Leon Bailey in a minute. No wonder he's feeling let down when he came from a team that was built around him as is Bellingham currently. Can you imagine, lol? I don't know what that means. Sorry. V2 says, with Van de Beek, we play 10 versus 11 every game. We've still got that poll going as well. You can see that. Does Van de Beek have a future at United? 83% saying no. 17% saying yes. But yeah, so going back to the Bailey thing, there was an incident last night. There you go. You can see it there. There was an incident last night where Leon Bailey is on the deck and he literally shoves or pushes Martinez's knee with his foot. Now, it's a red card, that. It's deliberate. It's dangerous. It's serious foul play. It's a red card. If VAR sees that, if we have VAR and it sees it, it goes. Right, for me, there's no two ways about it. It's not, well, it's a bit of an orange one. Oh, I've seen him giving, man, he might have got a yellow. Nah, man, that's a red. So for him to go whinging the other day about Martinez should have had a red, and then for him to do that, and also it was pretty funny because he did that. Martinez was just like, what are you doing? And then a few players got involved. Listen, I'm going to wrap it up there anyway. Everyone's mentioning there. There's 2 minutes silence and 2 minutes for the armistice remembrance as well. There's a link in the description for a live Dublin event we're doing. We're doing an event in Dublin, me and all the lads, and Shockey, Brian McClare. So if you're in Dublin on the 30th of December, get involved in that. There's a link in the description. But yeah, thanks to everyone who got involved. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. I'm in jail. I'll be back later on with Stephen Hansen, the Brew, and we'll have a preview with the Housefly's favourite, Alex Bagley. Thanks for watching.